Welcome, guys, to the Balanced Business Dad. Again, this is Dustin Hogue, and as always, I'm here with my co-host, RJ Campbell. And remember, this is a conversation that focuses on the balance of the important pillars of the life of the everyday dad. Those pillars include faith, health, marriage, fatherhood, brotherhood, and career or business. And today, on episode 2 of the Balanced Business Dad, we're going to dive deep into the first pillar, which is faith. RJ, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well, Dustin. Ready to be here. This will be a little tougher topic, I think. I've thought about this one all week because faith can mean so many things to so many people. Or we're talking about religious faith or just faith in others, or what is that faith in? So it's a little bit more of a challenge to talk about this one. Actually, I have some thought on this one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, faith can encompass so much. You know, when I say the word faith and I want to have balance in faith and I want to strive to be better in faith, a lot of that means that's going to mean my religion or my Christianity background. Yet faith can encompass so much, and yet we need to have balance in all of it. You know, one of the things I struggle with, and RJ and I've had this conversation a lot, is as what I consider me being the spiritual leader in my house, as I want my kids to grow in the same faith I grow in and I have grown into, yet sometimes it's challenging to go practice that. And I'm talking about, you know, just church here, yet it's really hard to bring a 5-year-old and a 1.5-year-old to church and pay attention and try to grow in your faith at the same time.
Yeah. I've dealt with that over a lot of years. So it's interesting you say that, because then I go to the other end of it. You know, we've talked about this. My kids are grown. My youngest, my daughter's 25. I have sons that are 28 and 31. So they're into their own world of faith. If we're talking about, at this point, faith, you know, in a religion, and you know, again, like Dustin, I'm a Christian. So I'm speaking of that type of faith. We're going to get into a little bit other forms of faith, what we're talking about, to get a little bit more broad. But so where Dustin struggles with bringing his young children to church and trying to pay attention himself while trying to keep them in line, and I go on the other end of the spectrum because my kids, you know, faith to them is now totally independent. So now it's, okay, as if you want to use that term, spiritual leader of the family, how do I talk to my kids now that they're adults about faith? Because it is one of those topics that, you know, we always joke about. You know, we don't talk about religion, politics, and, you know, well, I'm not sure what I want to put for that third one, but
Money's the third one.
The money's the third one. So, you know, that becomes the other part. Okay, now they're adults, and do we talk about where they are in their faith journey, if we're going to use a term like that, or their beliefs? And so it gets complicated. It just keeps going and going.
Yeah, faith is one of these, it's just a really complicated word. It's a complicated subject. So I looked it up today. Faith, the definition on our friend the Google, right? 2 definitions. First being faith, complete trust or confidence in someone or something, which I find really interesting. And number 2, a strong belief in God or the doctrine of a religion based on spiritual apprehension rather than proof. What both of those say to me is total trust. Extreme trust, 100% trust in something, someone, and that encompasses a lot. You know, some of the notes I wrote down today, you know, we have faith every day we leave our house and get in our car that white dotted line is going to keep that person on the other side of the road from coming over, right? We have faith in that, or we probably wouldn't drive in that. Or we trust in that, or we trust in that other driver not to veer off into our lane. We have faith that we're making the right decisions in life, right? We have faith that our children are going to make those right decisions. You know, you kind of talked about that as your children's faith are independent now. Well, now you have to have a trust that, hey, I did what I could have done for them to grow now in their own faith.
Yep.
We have faith that, in my opinion, faith means it's the best that's going to happen. I use a term a lot called fear or faith you choose. And fear means, what is the worst that's going to happen on this decision I make? And faith is, what is the best that's going to happen on that decision I make? I tend to lean on what's the best thing that's going to happen. And it's interesting because when you start talking to people like that, you know which lens they look through very quickly.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that could happen. That could happen. And I'm on the other hand, I'm like, well, this could happen or this could happen, right?
Right.
So it's fear or faith. So there's a lot that goes into it.
And Dustin and I balance each other out there. So I definitely lean more towards the fear side than the faith. Now, it's not paralyzing fear, but I analyze a little bit to the side of, oh, boy, what if this goes wrong? which is funny because Dustin will tell you the line that I use all the time when we talk about what's the worst thing that can happen. And I always say they can't take my birthday away.
Right.
So what have I got to lose? Give it a shot. But,
right.
I still definitely I go more towards the fear side. And so does my wife. We're not good balancing each other out because we both think that same way. Yeah. We're a little more risk averse. Dustin is not risk averse.
No.
He'll try anything.
I will. And and I guess it's that faith. So again, the word faith means so much to so many people. There's a few definitions I have for it, or not definitions, but meaning when I hear the word faith. One we talked about is my spirituality. And two is faith is what gets me through my bad days, right? And we've all had them, but the reality of it is I've had faith, or I have faith now that I'm going to get through every one of my worst situations. Because up to this point, it's proven that I have gotten through it all. And something that I tell a lot of my coaching students is, listen, guys, you've made it through your worst day. And by the way, if you haven't made it through the worst day, you're not even listening to me right now. So you have made it through your worst day, and I have faith that that's going to continue happening.
Yeah. Yep.
Right? It's that faith that's pulling me through this really bad situation or this ugly day or this trauma I'm having. It's the faith that's going to put me through, and I have trust in that.
It's interesting that Dustin mentioned that. I'm listening to a book right now called Sea Stories. So it's written by Admiral McRaven. A lot of people know him. That is the admiral that gave the commencement speech at University of Texas, I think, where he talked about the 10 things that you have to do. Start the day, make your bed. A lot of people are familiar with him. So this is his book, just his stories as a career Navy SEAL. And they use the line in there. It's funny Justin said this because this just popped into my head when he said it. He said, especially when they're in SEAL training, the worst day was yesterday. So it's only up from there. They looked every day. Hey, the worst day we're going to have, that was yesterday. It's the way to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So that faith is, we're just moving forward. So we came up with some questions for each other on this. They're candid questions just to see how the other one's going to act. And then we'll kind of give our responses on this too. But, obviously the overarching theme of this podcast is going to be what balance is and how do we strive for it and why are we striving for it. So my question to you, RJ, is what do we need to have faith in? If faith means that trust, that 100% I believe in it, what do we need to have faith in?
That's a good one. As we started talking about faith, obviously the first thought Dustin and I had was our religious faith, our faith in God, our Christianity. So that faith, which to me and to Dustin, we've talked about it, is very, very important. But I also made a note here, faith versus trust. They're almost the same thing. You trust your neighbor. Dustin said you trust the guy on the other side of the highway, that he's not coming across that white line. You trust that you make the right decisions with your family. You trust that your kids are making the right decision when they're on your own. So you have faith in all of those things. So I think that's where this balance in this podcast, when we talk about faith, it's not just our faith in God to us, Jesus, Christianity, whatever religion that you happen to be practicing, and that's not the point of this. But it's the faith in all those other parts of life that if you are so paranoid that you have no faith in anything, you don't have faith in yourself, you don't trust yourself to make the right decision, you don't trust your spouse or significant other to make the right decision. So you think about how stressful life is at that point when you always have that in the back of your mind. Faith that your children are going to make the right decision. So that's, to me, where I'm saying, where do we need faith? We need faith in a lot of those things. And a lot of it ends up, it relieves that anxiety. You're putting trust in somebody else. And I even made a note about that. That faith is what I wrote down before. Faith offers calm and peace.
Oh, I like that. Yeah. Faith offers calm and peace. You mentioned a lot of things like that. I mean, I couldn't imagine not having faith in certain things.
Yes.
Right? One of the things you talk about, RJ has that what I like to call his real job, right? Could you imagine not having faith that your paycheck's going to show up?
Right.
Or it's interesting, some of the things that we don't even realize we're putting faith in, but we put faith into our thermostat. It's 18 degrees where we're at right now, right? 18 degrees outside. That's cold. We have complete faith that when I go hit the thermostat up, my furnace is going to kick on and the heat's going to come on and keep my family warm.
Right.
Right. It's faith. We have trust in these things. So the reality of it is if we don't have this faith in these items in life that we need, I couldn't imagine the stresses that's going to have.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
And it's almost that letting go in something.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Right.
So we know life's not all going to be rainbows and unicorns. but we have faith it's going to turn out better, or we have faith in a greater plan. I mean, that's, for me, I don't necessarily pray for God to fix it, whatever this is. I just pray that I can trust in whatever is going to happen. So there becomes the faith in that. But you don't realize how much we have faith in it, all those things we start talking about there. Your house catches on fire, we have faith that there are going to be firemen around, or the policemen are going to be available when something happens. Yeah. Right. Faith and trust are everywhere around us.
And sometimes we have to put that faith in ourselves, right? So that's one of the things that I talked about when my answer to that question is, what do we need to have faith in? A lot of it's we have to have faith in ourselves, right? In that horrible situation if our house burns down, I have to have faith in my capabilities of getting my family out.
Wow.
Right?
Yes,
and
absolutely.
And that encompasses a couple of the other pillars like health and everything else that goes into that. Yet I have to have faith in myself that I can provide for my family. I have to have faith that my spouse supports my decisions in business to provide for my family, that I'm not going against that, right? So it's this trust that we have to have. And man, we just need faith in so much, and that's where the balance comes in at.
We might have answered. I wrote down a second question to ask Dustin. We may have just answered it by going all around that dance that we just did there of what do we need faith in, but why do we need faith? Maybe we did answer that.
Yeah, and I think we did on accident there because I didn't even know that was a question, but it's to relieve the stress and anxiety. I mean, I could not imagine going through life without this faith in certain things, with faith in a lot. The more we're talking, the more I realize is that we have faith in a lot of things. That the floor is not going to cave in our house and we're going to end up in the basement. That the roof's going to stay on, right?
Right.
We have faith in a whole bunch of stuff.
We do.
And the reason why we need to have balance in that, or why we need to have faith, is because of the fact that it would leave a stress-free life. Now, to dive deeper into that question, why do we need balance? Can you have too much faith? Or can you have too much trust into something?
Absolutely.
Right?
Yes. Yeah. So I think that especially if we're talking about people, there are people that, well, we've all had it. You've had somebody that's disappointed in you, and it's an adult podcast that shit on you one way or the other. You didn't expect it. You had total faith and trust in, a friend, old friends. So there's no doubt you can get burned that way. I mean, people have it all the time with, the con man and confidence schemes and things like that. But even just people that you've just trusted too much. All of us have been in relationships with, with a significant other. That faith, that trust fell apart there. You had total trust in the other person, and they crapped on you one way or the other.
Or we've lost faith in ourselves.
Oh, yeah.
Or we had too much faith in ourselves.
Dustin will laugh about that one because he's talked me off the ledge more than once, and we were both talking about being real estate investors, and every time something goes wrong with one of my houses, and I'm like, the hell with it, I'm selling everything. So there's a lack of faith in that we have the right people around us to fix whatever that problem is. Yeah,
but I mean, if we talk just about our businesses, our real estate investing business, imagine if we had too much faith in there and I'm going to buy that, it'll all work out without seeing the house or without doing our due diligence on it.
Right.
Like that's why we have due diligence on a lot of things. Because of that same thing is because we don't want to have too much faith in there. So that's that balance. And we have to have that balancing act with all the other pillars that we talk about to make sure that we're in alignment, that we don't have too much faith because that could really hurt us, or we don't have enough faith and then we're stressed all the time.
Right. Yeah, and then, do we go down that line? And so, again, we've talked about this. Obviously, we know faith is, to us, the first pillar, the most important thing in our life. Now, we're seeing where that faith is in sometimes inanimate objects, right. That the thermostat works, that the heat comes on, that the roof doesn't leak. But that faith in, again, whatever your belief is at that point, is that your belief in God or Jesus or the universe or karma or whatever that is. Yeah. That faith to us, as we talk about that, is such the first pillar.
Yeah.
And because of the calm and the peace that it can bring.
Yep.
But just that you're depending on something else that's outside of you that can help in all different situations.
Right, because the reality of it is you can't know it all. You can't figure it out, and you can't see everything. Right? So you have to have faith that you're going to wake up in the morning. And you have faith in something. Like you said, it's our God, it's your God, it's the universe, it's whatever you believe, it's whatever higher power you're going to believe in that makes you open your eyes in the morning.
Right. Did we joked about that? Like the most thing you do that's a demonstration of your faith is you set your alarm for tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
You have faith that you're going to be a tomorrow morning.
That's, wow.
Every day, every night. Yeah. Oh, I guess there's a tomorrow. I better set an alarm.
Wow. That was honestly leaving me speechless here because don't know if I've ever looked at it that way.
I don't know why that just popped in that direction. It was when you said that there's a
huge.
tomorrow.
Right, that's huge.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and then we also have to think about with faith, how many people put their faith in us? Right, I have 2 small kids. My kids, I pray that they feel completely safe. Everything Dad does, we're okay.
Mm-hmm.
That it's okay if this happens. It's okay if when I hold Dad's hand to walk across the street, it's complete safety. It's that force field around them. They have complete faith that what I'm going to do is going to keep them safe, or I'm going to guide them down the right path, right? Or my spouse has complete faith in me that I'm going to provide, or whatever it may be. That's a big responsibility too, guys. If we don't have the faith in ourselves, how can other people put faith in us?
Right. Yeah, I didn't even think about it. This is going so many different directions
It really is.
than what we had written down originally.
Yeah.
In little bullet points. But I didn't even think about the number of people that have unquestioning faith on us. Again, my kids are grown, but I guarantee you they still have total faith in Dad and the security that I'm with Dad. He's going to do the right thing. We're safe. It's all going to be okay. Yeah. And to their mother as well. I didn't even think about that.
And even the small things. I have faith that I'm going to be at my parents' house on Christmas Eve. I just do, right? And it's proved because of the 39 years I've been on this world, I've been at Christmas Eve with my parents. Yet it's little things like that we just have this trust in. We know it's going to happen. Now, the question is, or not the question, but when that faith is broke, how do we feel? Right? And we can put that in those inanimate objects, or we can put that in when Christmas Eve isn't at your parents' house because there was an argument, or there was a loss of a loved one, or whatever it may be, or the inanimate object when your thermostat doesn't work.
Right.
Right? That's when faith is cut off, and our brain is going to, I had faith in here, and now I don't have faith in here. Now what? How do we repair that, if you will? And that's sometimes easier than said than done.
Right.
In a lot of situations. But it's also yes, there's tomorrow, but it doesn't mean that tomorrow is the exact same as it was today. And I think that's one of those things when you talked about tomorrow. I have faith there's going to be tomorrow. I also am a pretty firm believer that it might not be the exact same.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, I would agree. Same thing. Yeah, we kind of assume tomorrow is going to be the same thing. We don't wake up thinking it's going to be, or go to bed thinking it's going to be different.
Yeah.
And some days it isn't, but a lot of times you're faced with all different challenges.
Yeah.
Or just events that come up and phone calls that you receive, or, like you said, catastrophes of one kind or another. It's a totally different day. That's really into a different subject. But
it is. But it's, like I said, we're really going, there's a lot of rabbit holes we can go down on faith. But how we think of tomorrow is a different day, and the people who have faith in us. So, again, I have a 5-year-old son. Every single night at bedtime, he says, "Where am I going tomorrow, Dad?" Right? Because he goes to school 4 times a week. My parents come over and watch him 1 day a week. We have the weekends, and there's different things going on. So he always asks. He has the faith that tomorrow something's happening, and yet then he's putting the faith in me of where are we going. It's powerful.
It is powerful.
This word faith is really powerful, and it's kind of tripping me out a little bit the more we talk about it.
So Dustin and I were chatting about this week, just talking about, to me, I was saying this, I think, is one of the toughest topics, because when you hear the word faith, you immediately go to religion. And we don't want this discussion on this podcast to turn into, this is the religion that you have to be. That's not what this is about whatsoever. We just believe that people need to believe and have faith and trust in something. So I really thought it was going to be much more of it, just us rambling about a higher power, the universe, whatever that is. I sure didn't think it was going to turn so inward into how many people have faith in us and how many people do we have faith in.
Yeah, because it's interesting. The more we're talking, the more I realize that faith just means trust.
It does. Yeah.
That's what this is meaning. Yeah. I have trust in this. I have trust in that. Or I don't have trust in that. I need trust in that.
Right. Yeah. I have people ask me that. I mean, my kids will ask me, we'll be talking about faith and talking about, Jesus and the Bible or whatever that is. And I'll even have discussions with other people because they'll ask me about it, and they say, how do you know? How do you know that Jesus was the Son of God? Or how do you know that what is in the Bible is true? And I'm honest about it. I always tell them, I don't. I have faith.
Right.
But guess what? I could be wrong.
Yeah.
I may have absolutely chosen the wrong path.
Right.
I might be believing in the wrong thing.
Yep.
And I'm not going to know that ever.
Right.
It truly is faith. It is what we wrote down. It is faith, complete trust in something or someone but it's not. It's based on belief, not fact.
Yep. And what's interesting about that is, in my opinion, faith makes us feel a lot better.
It's calm and peace.
Yeah, it's calm and peace. I love that.
Yeah.
Guys,
Yeah.
this was an episode that went a lot farther into things that I didn't think it was going to go into. Yet I do consider it still the most important pillar out there, because you got to have that trait. Got to have that trust. You got to have that faith in something. You got to have that faith that something's going to pull you forward in your bad days. And we have
Right.
to make sure that's in balance, because we can't trust too much that hey, I don't need to go to work because I trust that it's all going to work out. Right? And I know some people like that, and that drives me nuts. Well, I trust that it's all going to work out. Yeah, but you got to work for it too, right?
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
I trust that my friends are always going to be there. We're talking about brotherhood. It's interesting that why we're talking about this. We have to have faith in all these other pillars too.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to have the balance of the faith in all those other pillars. Well, which will lead into that. I have to have faith in my health that I can protect my family if needed. I have to have faith in my marriage that it's a trustworthy marriage. I have to have faith in my fatherhood skills, right? So the more and more we talk about this, faith is the number one pillar, because you have to have faith in something. You have to have trust in a lot. And I still believe that, fear or faith you choose. Every time I've picked faith, it's worked out. Maybe not as good as I wanted it to, but it wasn't the worst case that happened.
How did it work out when you bought that bar when you were young? We'll go into that story another day.
That is a story, and it was the number one learning experience of my life. I'll put it that way.
And I just thought of something there when we're talking about trust, and you have to trust in things. Where Dustin was bringing up examples of, there's a difference to me in trust and in hope.
Yes.
So trusting or hoping that everything is going to turn out is different than trusting that it will. And I have a manager that I used to work for and on the sales side, and he would ask me, "Hey, are we going to bring that client in before the end of the year?" I'm like, "Yeah, I sure hope so." And his answer would always be the same: hope is not a plan.
Right.
You need a plan.
Yeah. There's a book, The Secrets of a Millionaire Mind by T. Harv Eker. And then there was a class kind of based off that through real estate brokerage I was a part of. But hope equals lack.
Yes.
And it's interesting. RJ, I hope you'll have a good vacation. Or RJ, I trust you'll have a good vacation.
Very different.
Very different.
Yeah.
Right? And it's I teach my kids. It's kind of the language of sales is where I learned it at. But it's I trust that you're doing well. Not that I hope you're doing well, because hope could be lacking there. Trust. I trust that you were doing well.
That's a great line.
Yeah.
I'm going to remember that one because I have a real job and have to talk to clients.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that. But, guys, I hope you got something out of this. I think this is a really, really, again, the most important pillar of our life that we have to have balance in, because we can't have too much and we can't have too little, yet we need that balance to make sure that we're pulling forward to getting through our good days and our bad days.
Fantastic. Yeah, would never thought we would have just spent 23 minutes going through that quickly. There's a lot more to talk about, and we'll be back to this many, many times.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Great conversation.
Great conversation.
All right, guys. Hope you enjoyed that discussion. We went over a lot of different things today. Had a lot of different topics and went into a lot of different directions. So hope you enjoyed it. If you want to somewhat continue that conversation, the easiest way is to find Dustin and I over on our Facebook page. So that's facebook.com/thebbdad. So you can interact with us there, leave comments, we'll reply. That's about the easiest one. And, of course, what helps us out, wherever you found this podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, go ahead and subscribe if you want to hear more of these. And you can leave us a rating. That's always a good thing. Helps the podcast get out there so more gentlemen, more guys can hear what we have to say. So, Dustin, any other thoughts on where we can be found?
No, guys, again, just thank you for listening so much. You can find us at our webpage at thebalancedbusinessdad.com. You can email us at info@balancedbusinessdad.com. And, guys, we look forward to talking to you soon.